Hi everybody, my name is Frank, and today I'm going to continue with the painting of Wonder Woman that I had started. And this is the book that I did on how to draw fantasy, the lost art of how to draw fantasy females. I did this book and it just shows my style of drawing the female figure. I know not everybody agrees with the way that I draw, but this is just a book that I did that shows you some of the basics of drawing female figures. Okay, today I'm going to continue with the with her costume, and I'm using these inks here, and then I'll be using these watercolors here, and I'm using a mixed media drawing paper, and it's a 98-pound paper, and I like it because it's a very smooth. It's a very smooth paper for the way that I like to paint. So I'm just going to continue with her costume and her boots. And I was working in I was using India ink, and I'm doing this is like the underpainting that I'm doing here. And on top of this, I'm going to put the color, and here the color of her boots are going to be red. So I'll just continue with my painting of them, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just sort of working in like a black and white tones here as I add on the paint. And the paint is very I thin it out, and I'm just using like a layered watercolor effect here to do the boots like I've done over here. I started, and the more layers you put on of this paint, which really this is the India ink that I'm using here, but I'm using it like a paint very lightly. But the more layers that you put on, the darker that it will look. It all depends on how many layers you use. And the India ink, well, the inks that I'm using, as well as watercolor, it dries very quickly. So once you put it on, basically it dries instantly. So you're able to you can go over it as much as you like, because it dries so fast. I know if you were working with oil takes a long time to dry, so if you want to do dry painting like this, you'd have to do one layer, and then you'd have to wait like probably the next day until you could do some more painting on top of it. Because basically what I'm doing is just putting paint or ink on top of ink till I get the dark effect that I'm going after. So I'm using it very lightly here. And the parts that you leave white, completely white, when you do your overpainting of your colored, for this one I'm going to use watercolor. So when you put the watercolor over this, the white area will pick up the brightest color, will be the true color. And then the darker areas will give you your darker tones. The darker areas of your underpainting, that is, will give you your darker tones. Now, I don't use this technique for every part of the painting. For instance, on the skin tones, I just use pure color. I won't use this darker India ink on the skin tones, but on other parts of the body or face, I do use it, like on her eyes or lips. Depends on what part, but just the flesh tones, I just will do that in the underpainting. I'll do it in the color that I wanted her skin to be. Okay, now I think I'm ready to put the actual color that I'm going to use here. Almost ready to do that. Let me just go in and really darken these areas that I want dark right here. Like right here. And my shadowed areas are, I'm just basically determining which areas I want in shadow. Okay, now I'm gonna add the watercolor to this part so you can see how that comes out. And we're gonna use kind of like a dark red for this. Okay, the area of her upper body, upper torso is going to be the upper torso of the costume is going to be done in red. And you just brush it on. Yeah, just basically just color it all in. Unless you want like a real shiny spot, then you'll leave that white. If there's a part of her costume or area of the costume that's going to be shiny, wants to be represented as a shiny area, that you want to represent as a shiny area, then you leave that completely white. So there we go. And as you can see, it's showing different tones here. The stronger areas here. And I like using this method of painting, which is like watercolor and ink, sort of a mixed media. I like using this method because you can basically work really fast. You don't have to wait for drying times, and it's also very simple. I think it's a very simple method of painting. It's just very easy, very kind of natural, I would say. It's almost like when when you were a kid and you did coloring books, because that's what I do. I outline the figure. I'll outline the figure, and then basically what I'm doing is I'm just coloring it in. And I just like the way that this method here, you can do some pretty cool stuff depending on whatever style you're working in. You can do some really cool stuff, and you can do it very quickly. It doesn't take forever, and it's a very simple method. And when you get ready to finish, or when you finish for the day, you can just wash the brushes off with water. So it's so much simpler than using more complex type of painting, like oil painting. Even acrylic painting can be a little bit more challenging because of the cleanup. But you can use acrylics in this form also, if you wanted to. Okay, I'm going around here. And then I'm just going to leave that little white area there to signify how her costume is a little bit shiny. And then we're going to do the boots. And the boots are also going to be red. So you see how I'm just going right over the underpainting that I did, the bottom color. So I'm just putting my main color right on top of this. And since the watercolor is pretty much transparent, you can see the bottom color, which is the black tones. They just make the color look more vibrant. As I do her boot here, almost done with it. Now if I want the colors to be more deeper, more vibrant, I'll just go over it on top again with another layer of color. And you'll see how that works out. And then I'm going to use some blue color right here. So a little bit of blue. And again, you see how the darker area is the same color blue, but with the more darker hues in it. And that's basically how I add the color in. Thanks for watching. I'll do another video really soon. And I think I'm getting close to completing this, but thanks for watching.